Little less than 8 months ago, I asked pretty much anyone I could who was even peripherally interested in Warhammer if they planned on subscribing to Warhammer Plus when it came out. And every single one of them gave me the exact same answer. No, absolutely not. And most of their reasons were either, well, I've got so many monthly streaming subscriptions already, to, well, not after what they did to all the Warhammer animators on YouTube. And both answers are pretty acceptable, honestly. I mean, yeah, we've got a ton of monthly streaming subscriptions. I mean, hell, how many streaming platforms are there? There's HBO Max, Disney Plus, Hulu, Vudu, CBS All Access, Peacock. It's an already overcrowded market, and Games Workshop's trying to get into that. They're going to have an uphill battle no matter what they do. And I would be remiss if I did not at least touch on the little, how shall we put it, dust-up between Games Workshop and the YouTube animators who were making a bunch of Warhammer animations. Those animators who, out of love and passion for Warhammer, decided to make a bunch of Warhammer animations that were pretty good. This is where we got stuff from Astartes to Sodaz's work, and Games Workshop came in and basically told them all to shut everything down so as to not create competition or copyright infringement for what was going to be on Warhammer Plus. Now, I know there are legal copyright reasons to do this. Games Workshop needs to show they're protecting their intellectual property. I'm not a copyright expert. I'm not going to really get into that. But I understand that there were legal or business reasons for Games Workshop to do it. However, the fact that they did it and the somewhat heavy-handed way in which they went about it did not in any way endear themselves to fans. In fact, it pretty much just poisoned the well for a lot of people. So between just being another streaming service and their dust-up, well, there wasn't much interest in Warhammer Plus in general, and, well, none amongst any of my social groups. So with no one I knew actually subscribing to Warhammer Plus, I figured it might be worth it for me to, if nothing else, just to tell everyone I knew about what a total disaster it was. But then Games Workshop came along and sort of sweetened the pot. The first was by giving people who were subscribed to Warhammer Plus for a full year a free miniature. You could choose between either a Vindicare Assassin or an Orc War Boss. These miniatures would be shipped to you after your first full year of subscription, and, well, it started up in August 2021, so of course I, as of yet, have not received my free miniature, but, looking forward to getting it. I chose the Vindicare Assassin as I play 40k, and, well, it looks pretty cool. Granted, I already have a Vindicare Assassin model that I've painted up, but, well, this one just looks way cooler, with the Vindicare actually posing with the sniper rifle, looking like he's getting ready to shoot someone. He's up in this shattered monument statue thing of what looks like a Sister of Battle. It just looks like a really solid miniature, and given what looks to be this miniature's size, or what I can approximate from a photograph, and about how large that Vindicare should be, this is a pretty decently sized model. It'd probably be going for $45-50 in store. So, yeah, $60 for a whole year of Warhammer Plus, and you get a cool Vindicare Assassin model. That's pretty solid. Subscribers of Warhammer Plus were also offered some free gifts and bonuses as long as they remained subscribed, and to date, at least to my knowledge, we've only gotten one of these, and that was the gift voucher rewards in November of 2021. Basically, you can see in this chart here, you'd get more or less 10% off of an order, and that's pretty solid. I'm under no illusions that this wasn't just some sort of minor sale for the Warhammer Plus subscribers, and, well, I'm sure it worked for a lot of people. For me, it did, simply because I was already planning on buying some Imperial Guard vehicles, even had them in my cart, and it's like, well, I get 10% off of the order if I order these within the next month or so, all right, I'll get them now, I guess. It wasn't a huge deal for me, but I'm sure a lot of people weren't planning on buying anything, but then they see this gift voucher, the FOMO sets in, and they end up buying, $150, $200 worth of minis. So, yeah, this is absolutely, just something to get Warhammer Plus subscribers buying, get people spending more money on the Games Workshop site. However, on the other hand, it is something, and I'm sure for a number of people who were like me, who had some stuff they were planning on buying or even looking at, this is just a nice little, discount that they can take advantage of. That will, however, wrap up all the various free bonus gifts that Warhammer Plus subscribers get. From now on, it's only, the 2 parts of Warhammer Plus that you access digitally, namely Warhammer TV, the Warhammer TV animations, and the Warhammer Vault. I'll get into Warhammer Vault a little later because, in my opinion, Games Workshop really could not have bungled that anymore. But let's start with Warhammer TV. Now, the content that is currently on Warhammer TV, or was on Warhammer TV at launch, was good. Quite good, in fact. The Angels of Death animation I thoroughly enjoyed. The Exodite, which just finished up a few weeks ago, is very good. The new animated show Interrogator on Warhammer Plus is also quite good. And the Hammer and Bolter series is, I think it's solid. I know there are some problems with the animations, but we'll get into that. In general, I think Warhammer animations are really solid. The quality is there. The quantity is not. When Warhammer Plus launched in August of 2021, there was 1 episode of Angels of Death, 3 episodes of Hammer and Bolter, a battle report, and a painting tutorial. And then the various Warhammer trailers that are already available on YouTube. Again, just the trailers. And at first, I thought there was a problem with, did I not download everything? Is it updating? But no, that was it. And lack of content has been a problem that's plagued Warhammer Plus ever since. So between this lack of content and the aforementioned bad optics, Warhammer Plus has some serious hurdles to overcome. They're a little dust up with the YouTuber animators. That, if nothing else, is going to take a lot of time to get over. I can't recall if Games Workshop's apologized for it. If they haven't, they really should. But that one's going to take a good deal of time for people to get over. Which means that there's really only one thing that the people over at Games Workshop should be focusing on right now when it comes to making Warhammer Plus better. Just getting more content onto the platform. And I know that that's like saying, we just need to solve world hunger. We just need to cure cancer. Very easy to say, very difficult to do. However, it's not quite that difficult to do. And I think the most effective and fastest way to get more quality content onto Warhammer Plus is via battle reports. Battle reports are, they're the most prevalent Warhammer content out there for a reason. Pretty much everyone who has any interest in Warhammer probably plays one of the tabletop games. So getting battle reports out onto Warhammer Plus should be a no-brainer. However, we're only getting about 1 battle report every other week. And I cannot understand why we're not getting at least 2 per week. I mean, look at other various, content creators who make battle reports. People like Tabletop Tactics, SN Battle Reports, Mini Wargaming. For free, they're putting out 1 battle report on YouTube a week, sometimes more. And full disclosure, I'm subscribed to Tabletop Tactics On Demand. With that, I'm paying about £6 a month, and I'm getting at least 3 battle reports a week, and usually some sort of extra video talking about where the current meta is, here's a new codex that came out, let's talk through that. And, can't understand why there aren't more battle reports. Granted, these look, much nicer than your average YouTube battle report. In fact, I would argue these look probably nicer than the stuff put out by Mini Wargaming or SN Battle Reports or even Tabletop Tactics. The overlay here is quite nice. The battle reports are very easy to follow. And while the hosts being more or less charismatic, I think is definitely a matter up to debate, they're definitely very fun people to watch play Warhammer games. However, these battle reports are always going to be at a disadvantage when compared to the bat reps put out by, Tabletop Tactics, SN, Mini Wargaming, due to one fundamental reason. These battle reports are put out by Games Workshop, not by a third party. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when Games Workshop puts out a battle report on Warhammer Plus, they want to showcase as many units as possible, and they want to make them all look as awesome as possible. They want it to look good, and they want to make sure that everything looks amazing. And it does look very nice. You've got this very nice overlay here, and you've got the charismatic hosts. They're fun to watch, but they're not being completely honest, and they can't be. When they put out, say, a Space Marine list, and they're incorporating a bunch of different units, they want to make sure that all those different units, look and seem really awesome. Sure, some of them will get shot off the board first turn, but they don't want to come out and say, oh, I'm making a list with a ton of Eradicators because Eradicators are super, super powerful right now, and I'm not even looking at including any Firstborn Marines or any Scout Marines because they're not so strong at the moment. They're not going to say that because then they'd just be saying, oh, we didn't do a proper job balancing this codex. And same thing when it comes to armies. They're not going to be creating, more competitive or truly competitive armies and battle reports simply because then they just be going, oh, I'm going to pick the most competitive army in the game right now. Oh, I'm playing Harlequins. Oh, you're playing Harlequins? Oh, I'm playing Harlequins. Oh, and we've got basically the same list. So it's just like this happened at Adepticon couple months back. But point being, they can't say that because then they just effectively be bashing themselves. They'd be saying, oh, we didn't do a good job. These third-party content creators who make battle reports, your Tabletop Tactics, Mini Wargaming, SN Battle Reports, they can come out and say that. They're not affiliated with Games Workshop. They can say, oh yeah, Games Workshop didn't do such a hot job when balancing this codex. Yeah, this Avatar of Cain seems like a ridiculously powerful auto-include in all Eldar armies. So, in that regard, yeah, these are always going to be subpar when compared to other battle reports simply due to the fact that other battle reports can be more honest with things like balance and army power level. All that said, however, these battle reports are still really well done. The production value is there. They're fun and engaging to watch. So there should be more of them. Make more of these battle reports. And while you're making more of these battle reports, make more battle reports of some codexes that have not been released yet. When you're 1 or 2 weeks away from releasing a new codex, put out a battle report with that new codex. Maybe, if that codex isn't fully printed yet, if you don't have the fully printed hardcover copies of the codex, fine. Just use print off a copy from your computer, staple it together, put it in a binder. Say, hey, yeah, this new codex is coming out in a few weeks. We don't have the actual hard copy of the codex yet, but we do have the final rules. Figured we'd show off some new army tactics for you. Stuff like that, get some more like behind the scenes sort of feel to this would go a long way, I think, in endearing a lot of people to Warhammer Plus and making these battle reports just seem a lot more fun. Moving on from battle reports, there really needs to be more exclusive animations on Warhammer Plus. And I know it's not easy making animations. They take a lot of work, a lot of effort. Trust me, I get it. But the biggest weapon in these streaming wars, the streaming platform wars, and yes, it is a war, it's like the console wars, Xbox versus PlayStation. It's a streaming platform war now. The biggest weapon a platform can have is better exclusive content. And Warhammer Plus, it has exclusive content. The exclusive content is good, but it doesn't have anywhere nearly enough exclusive content. And I'm just going to do a brief rundown of all the various exclusive animations and shows that are on Warhammer Plus right now. I'm not going to be doing too much of a deep dive. If a lot of people watch this, let me know in the comments, and, maybe I'll do a deep dive and give you more in-depth opinions on these various shows. But I'll just briefly run through them right now. We'll start off with Hammer and Bolter. Hammer and Bolter is an animated series, and each episode is its own self-contained story. So they're not related. Each episode is its own thing. And in general, I'd say they're pretty good, and they're definitely getting better with time. The most recent episodes, Artifacts and Plague Song, are, in my opinion, the best episodes of Hammer and Bolter that have come out. Very, very good. The early ones, well, the artwork is strong. The story is strong. The animations, however, look like a Captain Underpants flip-o-rama. You never want your animations compared to a Captain Underpants flip-o-rama. And yeah, they really are that bad. It's literally just jumping from poses. It's almost like hard cuts at some points. And again, the story is very good, but especially in this first one here, Death's Hand, the plot for this episode I thought was quite good. You've got a radical inquisitor whose death was foretold on the Emperor's Tarot, and he's, trying to work with the Eldari to prevent this from happening. And a fellow inquisitor comes along and is like, you're a radical inquisitor, and you're working with Xenos, and I'm going to have to kill you. And they fight, and it turns out that there was actually a Calidus assassin hiding among them, and the Calidus assassin jumps in the fight, and there's a whole thing with that. And the fight with the Calidus assassin, initially I was very excited when I first saw it, because, hey, cool, assassins. We got the Calidus assassin, they bring in a Vindicare assassin later on. It's a really interesting story. And then the fight happened, and the Calidus assassin is basically just like blinking around the screen. The Calidus assassin shouldn't be just blinking around the screen. The Calidus assassin should be moving, very fluid, graceful, and that just wasn't happening. So these earlier episodes weren't so great, but given the fact that these more recent episodes looked a lot better, hey, maybe Hammer and Bolter's, it's on an upward trajectory. Who's to say? Hopefully we'll get to see some new ones soon, and hopefully we'll continue this upward trend. Warhammer Plus launched with 2 animated series. It launched with the first 3 episodes of Hammer and Bolter, and it launched with the first episode of Angels of Death. Angels of Death is an animated series that follows a group of Blood Angel Space Marines as they fight their way through a bunch of Genestealer cultists who rescue their captain and then recover a Magos who possessed a standard template construct. In general, it's a really interesting series, and I quite enjoyed it. It's got this pseudo black and white thing going, where everything's in black and white except for the Blood Angel's armor and blood, which kind of artsy, kind of interesting. I quite enjoyed it. And in general, it was a thoroughly enjoyable series. My only problem with it was that it was pretty short. There were 10 episodes, and each of them was about 20 minutes long or so. And for me, that was just way too short, especially since that there wasn't a new episode of Angels of Death every single week. They came out, as either every other week, or there was like a 2-week gap, I think, at one point. So in general, a good series, however, over far, far too soon. The second animated series we got on Warhammer Plus was the Exodite. This one has also ended after just 3 episodes. However, these episodes were slightly longer in length, so it sort of balances out. It follows a Tau team led by a newly promoted Tau commander or lieutenant. You have to forgive me, I'm not at all familiar with Tau rankings and military structure, but the team is sent down to the planet to capture an Eldari who'd sort of been killing off a bunch of commanders and diplomats for the Tau and for the local Imperium fleet, because the Tau were looking to make peace with the Imperium because, well, it's the Tau, that's what they do. And the Imperium were like, oh, we don't know if we want peace. And then this Eldar shows up and murders a bunch of people, and the Imperium was like, oh, you killed these people. We're fighting the Tau now. And so it follows the Tau team as they track down this Eldar. It's the animations there are very solid, and it's actually, you know, shows the Tau in a much more human light. They don't just seem like, you know, just random Xenos. They seem much more, we see a lot of personality out of them, which I quite enjoy. And as I mentioned, the animations for the Exodite are excellent. Not quite Astartes level, but still very, very good. And then there's Interrogator. I'm actually making this video on the 4th of May because, well, today we just got the 2nd episode of Interrogator, and it was okay. It's got sort of like a Necromunda-y vibe, where it's following this Interrogator who was ostensibly, at least at some point, part of the Inquisition, as he's hunting down this heretic chaos cultist guy. And in general, it seems to be pretty good. You can see from this screenshot, it's all in black and white. I don't know if it's going to bring any color in at all, either in like a Angels of Death sort of way, where only certain things will be in color, like maybe like if, you know, he's pursuing this guy who I'm pretty sure is a chaos cultist. It could be Gene Steele cult, but I'm fairly certain it's chaos. Maybe some of, like, you know, the chaos demons or chaos magics will come in, and those will be in color. Or maybe, you know, at some point, you know, certain important things will be in color, a la Schindler's List. But in general, it's a pretty solid show. I can't give too much of an opinion on it since we've only gotten 2 episodes, but from what I've seen, it's pretty good. The animations certainly look a lot better than what we've gotten from Hammer and Bolter, which is, that was probably my main concern with the show going in, was that we get those Flip-O-Rama animations. But in general, I think the animations are pretty solid, and, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing more episodes. I'm just hoping we're not going to have to wait, you know, 2 weeks in between each new episode for Interrogator. That, however, really does it when it comes to animations on Warhammer Plus. Yes, I know there's Astartes is on there, and they've also got the armoring of a Space Marine, as well as various trailers, like for 40k 9th edition, Age of Sigmar Kill Team. Yeah, that's all on there, and all those trailers look good. However, with the exception of Astartes, all of those can be found on YouTube, and Astartes can be found on Warhammer Community. So I really don't see much else that's exclusive to Warhammer Plus, aside from, well, really Lore Masters and the Warhammer Vault. I'll just briefly touch on Lore Masters here. It's basically just going over the lore when it comes to certain characters. If you've ever seen any of the videos by someone like Luton09 when he's talking about that, it's more or less the same thing. I would put it about the same, you know, quality and effort. The one difference I would point out is that since this is coming from Games Workshop, it is technically coming from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So you can more or less take the lore from the Lore Masters on Warhammer Plus as gospel. And when it comes to Warhammer TV, the only thing left is, well, the painting tutorials. And I really don't care to talk about them other than, you know, you can get painting tutorials done by actual Golden Demon painters on YouTube for free, right? Those exist for free on YouTube, and they're going to be doing just as good, if not better, a job at painting miniatures, because, again, these are Golden Demon painters who are putting out YouTube videos on how to paint stuff. So, yeah, the painting is, the painting tutorials are existent. It's nothing that I would ever in a million years count as a selling point. Which just leaves the Warhammer Vault. And the Warhammer Vault is, well, it's a collection of all the old White Dwarf issues. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, they really bungled this. Because at time of recording, there's no way to access the Warhammer Vault via an app on iOS or Android. It's only by going onto the website. which, one, that made no sense to me to begin with, because you would want to make an app or some sort of way to get to read these other than just via a web page. You'd want to use some sort of, like, mobile reader, right? But no, that's apparently not a thing. I would think that they'd have something like, say, a Warhammer Plus app, and then you'd log in, you'd access the app, and then it would say, okay, do you want to go to Warhammer Vault or Warhammer TV? Or maybe there would just be one app. And then you could just choose in the app to watch either videos or to read through old White Dwarf issues. That, to me, would make the most sense. However, that's not what Games Workshop did. The other thing they did with Warhammer Vault that makes absolutely zero sense to me is the fact that Warhammer Vault doesn't have the original White Dwarf issues. They took all the most recent White Dwarfs and then just started working their way back in time, which, I mean, that's a way you could do it, but that's absolutely not how I would have done it. What I would have done is I would take, say, the four or five most recent White Dwarfs, and then have, like, the first, 2, 3, 4, 5 White Dwarfs that were ever issued, as in, White Dwarf, 200 and whatever now, and then you would then go back to White Dwarf number 1, White Dwarf number 2, White Dwarf number 3, and have those come out at the launch of Warhammer Plus, so you have some draw, like, oh, hey, you've never seen the original White Dwarfs, hey, here's what the original, the OG White Dwarf issues looked like. Oh, look, here's an old White Dwarf where it literally shows you how to make a Space Marine land speeder out of this old stick of deodorant. How ridiculous is that? I don't understand for the life of me why they didn't do that, because that'd be a great nostalgia trip for a lot of people. But, whatever, I guess. One final thing to note with the Warhammer Vault is that it is only accessible via web browser. There is no iOS app or Android app that allows you to access it, which, I don't know, is it just me, or is that some serious missing functionality? Because I checked through the entire Warhammer TV app, and there's no way to access the Warhammer Vault through that. So, am I just missing, am I missing something here, or did Games Workshop just hobble themselves by excluding some pretty basic user-friendly functionality there? And really, the only other thing you get with Warhammer Plus is access to the Warhammer 40k and also, I believe, the Warhammer Age of Sigmar app. And if you haven't used any of those apps, don't worry, no one else has either. They're really just basic apps that do everything that Battlescribe does, except they require you to have the physical codex in order to scan in the QR code, and it's not a QR code, I think it's just an actual, like, a code on the inside of the codex that you enter into the app, and then you can access the units and stratagems found within that codex, which, yeah, okay, that makes sense, except you can already do that for free just by using a combination of Battlescribe and Wahapedia. So I on that one, I feel like Games Workshop could have definitely just said, okay, you're subscribed to Warhammer Plus, you don't get access to, like, all the lore and the written stuff and the artwork within the actual codex, but you do get access to the rules, the units, and the stratagems within the codex, which, oh well, I guess it's a thing. Access to the Warhammer 40k and Warhammer Age of Sigmar list building apps sure is something, and I guess it is technically better than nothing. But that's it, really. There's really not much else going on the Warhammer Plus app. Yeah, the Exodite and Angels of Death, those are very good animations. I'll be interested to see where Interrogator goes, I suppose, but there really isn't anything on there besides that. As I mentioned, battle reports, while the battle reports they make are pretty high production value and the hosts are really fun to watch, that's nothing you can't find on YouTube right now for free. And same thing with painting tutorials. Yeah, you learn to paint models just how they look on the box art, sometimes in many cases better. But again, there are Golden Demon painters on YouTube right now who are doing the exact same thing and probably even doing it better. So, unless you absolutely positively need to have that Vindicator or that Orc War Boss, or you really quite like how all these shows look and you can definitely see yourself watching them over and over and over again, I really, at this point, don't see much reason to recommend Warhammer Plus. I'm going to keep the subscription just because, well, I suppose someone has to make sure that, nothing ridiculous happens. And also because I really want that Vindicator. But in general, it's just kind of blech. That's the only way to describe it. It is a thing that exists, and honestly, probably not worth your money at this point.